We would like to start out by showing you a blank pre-linked template. This is what we strongly suggest everyone starts with for every project. We do not recommend anyone starts with an existing project or a template with nothing pre-linked before you start.
So here's our template. I'm just going to turn on I've got the organizer over here, but I'm going to turn on the navigator as well so we can show everything at once. So in this pane I'll just show the project map with all the view points. In this one is the view map with all the views in it, and over here for now is just the layout book with all the layouts in it. But the idea behind this template is that everything is pre-linked, as Chris said. So I'll just show you here for, say, schematic design, floor plans. So the main floor plan here, and that is mapped, that view is mapped onto the corresponding layout as this drawing here. Of course this is going to be empty, but as soon as you start populating it, it will show up on the layout. So the idea is that throughout here everything is matching between the layout, between the view map and the layout book. This particular project has about 850 pre-linked views. That's pretty much middle of the road, really. There has concurrent sets here, so it has a marketing set going at the same time as a schematic design set, at the same time as a design development set and a construction documentation set. But the important part is that these are identical between the view map and the layout book. So there's usually too much in here for any one project. So the idea is that if you don't need a part like the existing in demolition, if it's not a remodel project, you just delete these out of the project and delete these out of the project. And it's because it's much easier to delete stuff than it is to create things. So it's kind of a subtractive methodology. And then all of these views and layouts are pre-linked into publisher sets, which are here. So we've just got some of the more common ones: BIMX Pro, saving and uploading, DWG, Excel, your spreadsheets going out to Excel, IFC for Kobe, for those doing that, PDF going to a printer, and some renders going straight out to rendering. So we'll go over all of these in a real project. There's not much to show you in an empty project, but we'll just switch over here in a minute to a real project. So here we go.
The project we'd like to show you today for this template demonstration is a 3-story mixed-use building that is completely modeled. There is no 2D work here. The only 2D information you'll see is annotation and dimensions, and we feel this will really highlight the power of a pre-link system based on the template you saw before. So now we're actually going to show an actual project. So Link's going to start out by talking about the work environment and how we customize that.
And this work environment is our work environment that we provide. It doesn't usually have the navigator turned on, but we just put that on for today's demonstration. One of the first things you'll notice is the background color is kind of an off yellow. So I'll just show you where that is. In here, grids and backgrounds. So the color we use is 244, 244, 222, and that's a really easy color on your eyes, and it shows up all the other colors apart from off yellow. Shows up black, white, bright yellow, shows up everything. So set that for your background color for your 2D window and for your 3D window. So another thing that we recommend is to have a vertical information box here. So when you're in here, you can use if you've got a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can scroll up and down in here in your info box, and this lets you access most of the settings without actually having to click into the dialog box of the tool. You can also on Mac and Windows now, you can double click this bar at the top and pop this out to a predefined location, and you can double click it back in. So you can do that with any of these. So favorites is one that we strongly recommend having on. This project uses all favorites. Here's an example of some of them, but you should be using favorites with all your projects. It's very important to the workflow that you set up as many favorites as you can for your typical workflow and typical project. Some people do it by project, some people do it by tool type, but however you do it, just make sure you start using favorites. The toolbox that we've got over here, we've just kind of made it all into one long pane. So we start off with all the 3D tools, go down here into the 2D tools, annotation tools, and then just finish off with some viewpoint tools. So when you're making these work environments, just make sure you use them and create them for yourself. They should be more personalized rather than having a company-wide work environment.
We'd now like to talk about the project map. The project map is truly the foundation to the structure of any good, powerful template. So if you have a good understanding and grasp of this next section, this can really help you develop a very powerful template.
So the project map includes all the viewpoints for your project. We'll just start with the main floor here, and I'll just turn on, just to recap, I'll turn on the view map and the layout book just to show you that. So this main floor can be used as a construction documentation floor plan. Here it is here, and that gets mapped through. If I double click on that, that'll get mapped through to the main floor plan on the layout. So these can be used, you can have multiple views for one viewpoint, but I don't want to get too far ahead. But so your project map contains all the viewpoints, and just consider those points of view, different ways of looking at your model and different ways of looking at all the data inside your model. So it includes all the stories you have, all the sections you have, all the elevations, all the interior elevations, any worksheets you have, any details, 3D documents, 3D views, including cameras, any schedules like element schedules or component schedules, surface schedules, the new schedules in ArchiCAD 19, and project indexes, and lists as well, but we're not going to really use lists yet. So I'll just give you an example of where to find some of these viewpoints. So I'm going to turn on all my layers. I've got that set to the keyboard shortcut F9, and I'm just going to zoom out. So here are all my markers. I've got a bunch of section markers in here, elevation markers, building section markers. It's just a section marker but it looks different. Some interior elevation markers. They're all sitting here. They're all pre-linked into views and onto layouts. Other ones that you can't necessarily see are all the schedules. So these schedules are all set up, ready to go, ready to pull the information out of the model. All these different legends and schedules, and these are also mapped into view maps onto layouts. So I also have on a worksheet, I have a bunch of detail markers. Here's one here. I've got a lot here actually. So I'll show you how these work. So these are all pre-linked onto layouts. So the idea is that, and the instructions are here, but the idea is that you grab one of these details and you cut it out. Just cut it out here, and you use these settings here. Keep as independent, and then we'll go and put it onto a section. So let's just open up a section, say section A, and then we'll just paste that in. We can just paste it here for now. And I'll just move it over here. maybe just here, and then you can massage it into shape. So if it's too big, you can grab the end of it and put it into shape however you like. And here you would just change this back to a source marker after pasting it, and you would name it here. So let's just call this eave detail. Okay, so this is eave detail. It's on page A41, 48 I should say. When we look at our details, here it is down here, at the bottom of the list, eave detail, and that goes into our view map. So if we look at our details in the view map, which we'll explore all this soon. So half-inch detail, there's eave detail, and if we go to page 48, there it is there. And it's called eave detail as well, so the name comes through. So the name of the drawing on the layout comes from the view map, comes from the original viewpoint, so the name is mapped all the way through. So you can go and place this drawing on any other sheet, but for now it's just on the detail sheet. So that's how you can pre-link a detail. You can also pre-link, these interior elevations are pre-linked. This is on a layer called a markers pending, so it's just a layer that's frozen, hidden I should say, locked, so it won't print until you need it. So what you do is we'll just unlock that for now, and then we'll just change the layer to probably a layer that you would use, and then you move it into position. Put it onto, just move it into our building over here. Let's just say this bathroom, we'll put it in here, and we'll just kind of make it go halfway through the walls. I'll just stretch this one into shape, into the room. And this is designed to get its name from the actual zone that it's in. You can move this around. So the zone is bathroom, and so now this will be called, because it's referring the zone name, it will be called bathroom. So if we look at the interior elevations up here, I've already done a couple, but there it is, bathroom. So now if we go to the view map, we'll just close these. Interior elevations, the bottom will be called bathroom. Where is it? There, and here, bathroom. And these are placed onto layouts already, so we'll just have a look at those. Interior elevations, that's on sheet A82. So it's just going to rebuild, but it's down the bottom here. So these are mapped through, the names come through all the way through from the viewpoint through to the view name, and the view name goes through into the drawing name. So it's down here now. So that just populated itself with the bathroom detail, bathroom name. So that's, if you get a good understanding of the view map, it contains all the viewpoints. These viewpoints appear whether you like it or not. If you create the marker, the viewpoint will appear in the list. And from there we make views of them, which we'll go into next.
Next, we'd like to talk about the view map. The view map is a very powerful part of a template, and over the years Link and I have seen many interesting view maps. The view map it's important to think of it as a folder system and a good structure, as with the project map and the layout book. But if you have a good system here, as you can see, we have everything set up in folders. That's really the key. If we go in and we see views just scattered all over the place, not in folders, it creates a very disorganized system. And so what we're going to talk about now is a little bit more information about the view map and how that really helps in the making of a powerful template.
So The view map basically filtered views of the viewpoints. So let's take, for example, a schematic design floor plan. Just activate that. So here it is. This is for SD. This is coming from the exact same viewpoint. You can tell whenever you double click on a view, it will show you here in the project map what viewpoint it's coming from. So for a schematic design floor plan, we've got this set to show all the zone colors, so it's nice and pretty and schematic, and the walls are solid, and it's quite simple with all the layers turned off that don't need to be there. But coming from the exact same viewpoint as another view, let's say construction documentation view, is floor plan, main floor plan. So this is coming from the exact same viewpoint, but it's filtered to look different. So now you can actually see the fill inside the walls. It's got more layers on. It's a bit simplified, not quite as colorful. So these are filtered views of viewpoints. So in the template we have, as we've explained, the structure here is very important, and we have it matching the layout book identically. So if I just bring this to construction documentation, you'll see all these folders in construction documentation here match all the folders here, and the views are identical. So these views here will get placed onto these sheets as drawings. They will all be identical here. So it's very easy to organize these, and you can tell that this drawing comes from this view and so on. So there's no confusion. Some view maps you see, and you might experience this yourself, is you'll see a lot of extra views at the end of your view map kind of dribbling off into oblivion, but you really want to curb those and just have them in structured folders like this. So one thing we don't really ever do is use clones. The only time we do use a clone of a view map is for schedules. A clone will create a folder of every single viewpoint within a type here. So it's not often, if you're creating, say, reflected ceiling plans, you don't want to clone the stories because you don't really want a reflected ceiling plan, roof plan. And having this pre-linked system, you don't really need clones. It's also important to note that if you do have a clone viewpoint and you delete it, or if you have a cloned view and you delete it, it will delete all of them. So they can be a little bit dangerous. We only use them for schedules really, because with schedules you usually want to clone and want a copy of every single schedule that you've made, and they all want to have the same settings. So the settings that we use have a lot of consistency. So I'll just show you some floor plans, for example. So down here are the settings for the floor plan, and you'll notice, I'll just go into here, you'll notice that that the layer combination name, these names here, match the model view options name and match the renovation filter name, and they also match the dimension style name. So this is pretty easy for someone new in the office just to pick up, that they should just all match. So instead of having different layer combination names and different model view option names, they all just match, and they all should just be in sync. So it offers a lot of flexibility and a lot of consistency at the price of a bit more complexity, but we find the benefits are huge. So all these views that we've made here all run concurrently. So if there's a change in the floor plan for this at all in the model, it will be reflected in all of these views all at the same time. So they all run simultaneously. So at any point you can go back and look at your construction documents, you can look at your design development documents, you can look at your schematic design, your marketing set, any of those. We also have a couple of layers, a couple of views up here called Show and Unlock All, one for floor plan and one for 3D. So this literally will turn on all the layers, unlock everything, turn on all the renovation filters, turn on everything, so you can, if you ever get lost, you can find out where your information is. So that's pretty much it for the view map for now.
Okay, now that we've talked about the view map, we want to move on to the layout book, which is the third icon in the navigator, and it's equally as important as everything else as far as structure and organization. Okay, so just because you have a good project map and view map, don't let your layout book get disorganized. It's equally as important there. So we'll spend a few minutes talking about that, and then we'll move on to Publisher afterwards.
So the layout book contains, well, in our template, there's the pre-linked drawings on layouts for 24 by 36 or 30 by 42, whatever you use the most. For this, I'll just use 30 by 42. And as we've mentioned already, the structure of this matches the structure of the view map identically. And at any point, if you're confused about where a certain view comes from, you can always just right click on it and open up the source view. And that will open here in this window, but it also highlights here in the view map, so you can see that these match. So our layout book contains every conceivable, every typical viewpoint you should want in an architectural set. If you don't need them, you can delete them. If you need them for later, you can just drag the whole folder or just the layouts into this not in use folder, and it won't interfere with your drawing set, and you can always just come back and put it back where you need it. So our layout book has, I'll just open up, just go back and open up a floor plan again. Yeah, so you can see here that our layout book actually has 445 sheets in it, but obviously you wouldn't use all of those. Now the masters that it has, we've got a range of masters here just for every sheet size. This is our default master, 30 by 42. You can see all the masters here, and they have the title block on there, our logo, and they've got lots of automatic text here. So this is coming from the project info. So all the project info here, let me just stretch this out. So everything that is actually filled out here is used in our title blocks. So if you go and fill it out here, it will automatically populate on all the masters and all the layouts. So obviously your layout ID and layout name picks up the ID and name for every single layout. So if we were to look back at main floor plan again, all this information is showing through. Obviously the name is just coming from the name here and the ID here. It's all automatic. If you create more layouts or remove them, the numbers update automatically. So as for the drawing settings, it's just important to take a look at those. Some things you should always have is have it set to auto. We just had it switched over to manual just for this presentation, but have it always set to auto so it's automatically updating. That's what most people do. If you want more control, you can set it to manual, but most people have it set to auto. Have the magnification at 100%. There's a couple that you might want to magnify, usually renderings and things that aren't important to be at scale, but otherwise you want this to always be at 100% so that these two match. And having the frame fit to the drawing. This is a good idea, especially when you start out a project, so that you know that you're getting everything in the view. It will automatically fit the frame to the extents of the model or of that view. And that's the most important thing for the layout book. I think you can obviously, if you've got lots of details on one sheet, you can drag these details onto other sheets pretty easily, and the numbering will keep up. We have certain titles that are used. We only have two different kinds of titles actually, one for construction documentation and another one for like schematic design, a simplified one. But they're always the same. And don't forget that you can always pick up the properties of one drawing and inject it into another whenever you need to transfer properties. But all these in the template are identical and ready to go from the start.
The fourth part of the navigator is the publisher, and this is really where you reap all the rewards of having a powerful template. What you'll see here is a number of publisher sets that are already done in a template, so that you get free information, free data, free renderings, free BIMX files, all that. So we'll show some examples here in just a minute.
So we have a variety of publisher sets here. Most of them are the common ones that you would use. I just want to show you the example of a PDF publisher set. Just keep in mind that this is part of your template, so you don't have to create this for every project. It's all going to be there. So just look into a PDF, and we'll just look into say a schematic design set. So here we are, the main floor plan. If I open that, I'll open it here. So that's that item, and you can see that it's coming from here, which is in the schematic design set of your layout book. And you'll notice these little arrows here. So what that means is that when these were created, we clicked on the schematic design set and hit add shortcut, and that creates kind of like a clone of your layout book. You can just drag these over, but once you do that, you'll see here that it's just a normal folder with no arrow. So what that means is if you were to add any more layouts to the set in your layout book, they wouldn't be reflected in here, but it would be in here because this is a kind of a copy of that part of the layout book. So it's really important to make sure that you've used add shortcut when you create your publisher sets. And you can publish, when you do publish these items, you can publish the whole set. You can publish just the selected items. You can publish all of the layouts or all of the publisher sets if you want to, all the sets. But so for PDF, you might want to publish just the SD, you might want to publish just the floor plans, you might just want to publish one or two or three floor plans and just publish the selected items. So that's kind of how we've set it up. We'll go through some of the published items that we've done earlier. We didn't do it now because it's going to take so long, but we've done some already and we'll flick through those now.
Okay, the first one we want to show you is a BIMX file. So these, we're not actually show the BIMX model just for the internet speed and everything. It wouldn't come through very well, but we have these pre-linked gallery views that are already set up again in the template. So we can actually go to those spots in the, if we're in the BIMX file, we can go straight to them right from here. So there's no need to always, export out a BIMX file, just make it part of your publisher set. Next, we'd like to show you, we imagine almost everyone has to export one of those flat old 2D DWG files at some point in their project. Have it as part of your publisher set. You can set up your translators specific to a specific consultant or engineer. We strongly advocate getting your entire team using ArchiCAD, be it structural, mechanical, electrical, interiors, all your consultants. But if they are using DWG, let's make our lives easier. Find out how they want their work, how they like their layers, whatever. So use that translator, set up the DWG as part of a publisher set and export it. We're just using a free DWG viewer just because we don't want to spend any money on 2D CAD software. So next we'd like to show you an appliance schedule that was exported straight out. This is in numbers. If you're on Windows, obviously you'd see this in Excel. What's nice about this is a complete database of information that came straight off the model, straight to a schedule that was exported out in Excel and brought into numbers. So you see all the information you'd want in a normal schedule, all the way down to the specification, link, and price, okay, all the way through. This actual schedule was also done in a PDF format. The difference here is we've actually hyperlinked a specification, put a link in there, so when Link clicks on it, we actually are going to our Dropbox where we put this PDF file of this 24-inch Bosch compact washer. So what's nice about this, the reason why we locate it on our Dropbox is so that we always know the path of that information. If the manufacturer were to move it, we'd have to go back in and relink it here. So we put that information on our Dropbox folder, which is pretty powerful. Again, this is all free information coming straight from the model and the power of a good pre-link template. Now we're into IFCs. Many of you may or may not be using IFCs or industry foundation class files, but this is how we're going to communicate the model and information over to other software applications that support IFC files, which there are a lot of. So in here we're able to spin the model around, we're able to look at different components or information, find out the material, the quantities, all the way down to the specifications of all the materials in a composite in this case. So it's extremely powerful. You can turn layers on and off, look at different things in the project. So this information now should be readable at the same level in any other program that can import an IFC file. And like I said, we're using the Celibri free model viewer for this. Okay, now we want to show you this exact same project that we leveraged through IFC, brought into another software application that you can see here, Revit. What's nice about this is we're able to show that our geometry and our information comes straight over. So this was pulled into Revit, and the geometry and information, geometry and data are, you can see, it's here. It's the same project in ArchiCAD. This is it over in that other software application. Okay, so just showing that we can leverage that information in different applications if we want. Okay, this is another example of a spreadsheet coming out in Kobe format, which is really for facility management. Probably a lot of you are not working with this right now, but you may in the future. So just to let you know, it's there and the possibilities are there. Okay, here is a marketing set of the project. Just 8 sheets on 8.5 by 11. So this might be for a realtor or whatever to sell the project, whatever. But it's all part of the project. We can be deep in construction drawings. Someone can come in and ask for a marketing set. We publish this out in a matter of a minute or two, and we're done. Okay, so pretty handy. In that same idea, we can actually go into here and go in and do a complete construction document set. So this is 151 sheets that takes several minutes to publish, but we can go have lunch, get a coffee break, whatever, while we're waiting for that to happen. And so with that, here's just some examples. This cover sheet with drawing index. Here's a standard floor plan, a construction document level. We strongly believe in communicating the building in 3D. Because you've built this beautiful model, show it off on your document set. There's no law that says we have to communicate with plan, section, elevation. Use 3D as a way of augmenting your 2D. Use the 3D to better describe the building and the design along with the document. So again, these are just part of the template and happen automatically. Here's a standard building elevations, which you'd see on any project. Building sections, Again, nothing in here has been drafted. This is all model. Okay, even more powerful are, instead of showing a standard building section or wall section, is use the 3D document tool in ArchiCAD that's been around for several versions. Again, show off the model. All these labels and everything are automated right off the composites and profiles that were put in there. So no extra work, but we're doing a great job of communicating the building and the design along with the document. Interior elevations, I'm sure a lot of you do these in your projects. This is something we'll do, but again, automated inside the template like Link showed earlier. But let's take that one step further. Using the new Cinerender rendering engine at a very high level, these renderings are pre-linked in the template, where all you're doing is basically, in our template we have pre-linked scenes, pre-set up scenes, so we're just applying those to these views. So there's not a lot of time spent in the Cinerender settings, which is an amazingly powerful tool. We just don't want to spend a lot of time tweaking those settings. Make them part of the template, then use these on our sheets to augment the typical 2D drafted views that we'd see in an interior elevation. Now we can look at another one. This might be like more for an interiors project. Here's a key plan of the furniture with a complete furniture legend showing the picture of the furniture, the description, the quantity. We could put price in there if we wanted to. It's just, again, part of the template. Okay, and we're extracting that data and information out with no extra work. Okay, finally, probably every one of you do door and window schedules. This is our take on how we think door and window schedules should be put together. Obviously, we could argue this, what's the best way to do a door and window schedule? The key thing here is it's done automatically. So we're not going in and taking any extra time. We have the door legend on there, we have the door schedule on there. So we have the graphical view and we have the data view all on the same sheet. Okay. Now we also have some additional renderings set with our project as far as some preset scenes for the exterior of the building that are set up as part of the template. So here's a blur. Here's an interior shot with the skylights coming through. Here's a nice dusk or nighttime scene that's already preset. This is with the 3D grass. That's a new part of the Cinerender engine. Okay, inside, this is just more of a elevated shot with the lighting, the outside lighting coming in, more kind of at dusk. Here's a nice nighttime interior shot with the kitchen lighting. Okay, so all those were set up. Here's another night shot with the preset scenes. So no extra work. We're just using those scenes and leveraging them in the template. Now we'd like to talk about data. Now, for a lot of you, most of our industry focuses on the building and the model and the documents, which is important, and that's what a lot of us get paid for. But let's not forget about the data or the information. So if we're doing building information modeling, let's not forget that little I in the middle. Now, what you're going to see here is all this information or data that we're pulling out. There's no extra effort. It's set up in the template, which does require a lift up front, but we just continue to benefit the rewards from then on out in extracting the data.
So we'll just take a look at this 3D document. Just keep in mind that this is fully automatic. All these labels are pulling the information out of the model. So let's just take a look at, say, this footing here. This label is linked to this wall here, which makes up the footing. So I'll just show you the settings of the footing. Here is the geometry. It's a complex profile, and this is the information that we have assigned to it. So we've made up our own IFC property sets. You might not know much about IFC, maybe you do. If you don't, just learn this much, or understand this much, that if we manage our IFC properties, you can come in here and you can create a property set, and in that property set you can list as many things as you want. For this, we've just created a bunch, and this wall is only accessing these first 6. So we create the property set, and then we assign, by checking these tick boxes, we assign these to that wall. Once we do that, we can come in here and we can fill out that information with whatever we want. So create the property set, define the properties, and then fill out the information. Once you fill that information out, it belongs to that wall. I've got one wall selected, it belongs to that wall. Now this label will automatically pull that information out of there. So just have a quick look at this label. Here's the label. It's the tags and categories label for ArchiCAD 19. And made this create sorting, and from that we can choose out of all those bits of information, we can grab whatever we want. So I've made it grab the ID and then all this information that we put into it. And so what it does is it's sorted in that order. It will just sort it here, the ID, and then all the information we put in. So all of these labels that you see in this 3D document are assigned to the elements, and these labels are automatically pulling out that information. So we can just show you a couple more. Like a 3D bathroom detail. Again, this information here is coming out from all of these objects and these walls. If we take a look at, say, this one here, this object, we look at the tags and categories, sorry. So all that information is in here. This is all the information that I added through IFC property sets, and it's all being pulled out. Well, some of it is being pulled out into this label. Some other information is being pulled out into the schedules, which we showed earlier. But all this information you put in can all be extracted. Another thing that you might want to do as far as legends go, we'll just have a look at main floor lighting plan here. So this is our lighting plan. It's the same model, but just got the layers and the options turned on to make it look like a lighting plan. And what I've done here is I have a lighting legend and a worksheet, and this is just objects here. Let's turn off the trace reference, you're not confused. But so this here is a view of itself. In itself, it's got full of objects here, and that legend goes out onto the lighting plan layout. I'll show you that here. So that's the legend going out onto the sheet, and this is the plan going out onto the sheet. So they both go out onto the lighting sheet, or lighting layout. But if I go back to the floor plan, we can show this as a trace reference. So show that as a trace reference. That will appear over to the side here. Now I can actually use that legend to pick up these properties and start dropping those into the plan. So I can put them wherever. So not only is it useful on the sheet, but it's useful while you're creating the legend. So just keep that in mind. You can do that with 2D objects for lighting plans or electrical plans. Another thing that's not too common but is very powerful are audits. So you can audit your project. So we've got a bunch here that check if things are on the ArchiCAD layer, which they shouldn't be, or element classification, materials, position, renovation, structural function. I'll just show you the ArchiCAD layer. We've got this example of a tree here, which if I just click on it. So this is on the ArchiCAD layer by accident. Really shouldn't be. So our audit here will look for anything that's on the ArchiCAD layer. So I'll just open that up and I'll close this. So here it is here. So it's saying it's an object. It's got an ID of landscaping 010. It's on the main floor and it's on the ArchiCAD layer. So if we go and have a look at that on the floor plan, here it is here, and that's the same tree. So if I go and put that on the correct layer, which is a site landscaping. Yeah, now we look at the audit, we can see that it should be empty now. So now we know that nothing's on the ArchiCAD layer, the model's good. Another one might be, say, the structural function. So what this one does, when we look at the settings of this one, it says look for any item that does not have an ID as omit, because sometimes we want to omit things, giving them an omit ID. And let's just see if it's got an undefined structural function. Generally, you want it to be either load-bearing or non-load-bearing. So let's list all those elements that have it undefined. So what it's done is it's found this main floor wall is the structural function is undefined. So let's have a look at that. So it's this one here. But what I'll show you, because it's an interactive schedule, this audit, we can go back here and we can actually change it right there. So I can make it a load-bearing wall. So now if we go back and have a look at this, we can look down here, tags and categories. Now it's a load-bearing element. So if we go back to our audit, we might just have to close that and open it again. Okay, and look at our audit. Yeah, now it's gone. And another kind of audit you can do is on the structure of the project. Say all your views in your project. So we'll just click on, say, a views audit. And this will audit all the views in the project. And collapse that. So this is quite a wide one, but it lists all the views and it lists the name of the view, the layer combination, model view option combination, renovation filter, dimension standard, pen set, etc., etc. So if you see one that is maybe incorrect, you can actually select it and change it right here. So if one of your view settings is wrong, you can change it right here and it will update the view. It will save you going through every single view in your view map to change it. So that's a good start on getting a lot of information out of your model and managing the data within your model and within your project.
The last thing we'd like to talk about, or last two things we'd like to talk about, is the attributes and also the importance of a BIM manual.
So for the attributes, I just want to talk, we can't spend too much time on attributes unfortunately, but the two important ones are probably the layers. So I'll just turn on the layers. Just take a look at our layer system. So we take advantage of the layer intersection priority numbers, keeping in mind that these are specific to each layer combo. I'll just stretch this out. I don't use any abbreviations really apart from CD, DD, and SD, and marketing, MS. So I try to keep abbreviations out, and I always capitalize all the layer combination names, and I do that for all of my attributes. The reason for that is if you get something from another file that pollutes this file, usually the layer names and the attribute names are not in capital, so it's really easy to spot pollution. We also use extensions. So I have A for annotation, L for layout, that's layout specific layers, M for model or 3D things, and then R for reference. So reference layers are just never published. That's pretty much it for layers, but I'll just hit OK there. The next thing is just talking about pen sets. So if we look at, this is just the main floor plan, and as you're working in any part of the model environment, everything is in color, so you can choose things by color. So I'll just have a look at this. So these are the model pens that are applied to all of these views when you're modeling. Don't ever change this top line. These are Graphisoft dedicated pens, so if you start messing with those, then your library parts and add-ons, they'll just look incorrect. So try and leave those well alone, and you start from the second line. So what we've done is just got a ramping scale of pens for the first 10 pens, and then we start moving into more specialized things like shadows, marker elements, lighting and electrical. Those are dedicated pens. So we use these for most of our elements. We're just doing pen by weight, by color. So what happens is that we're we're in color here in the model environment, but when we go over to the layout environment, if we just take a look at like a main floor plan, I'll just do that here. So this pen set that's assigned to this drawing, let's take a quick look, it's the layout pens. So layout pens are exactly the same as the model pens as far as weight goes, but the main ones are mapped to black. We still have color for things that we want to do presentation drawings in color. These will still map through from the model pens to the layout pens in color, but the most common ones are mapped to black, but keeping the weight. We also have specialized pens, so for say a lighting plan, here I'll just go here, you'll see that that all drops to grey. So the reason for that is that the pens here are using electrical and lighting pens, so those ones are mapped to grey, except for the actual electrical and lighting equipment, which is still a thick black line and it's mapped to black. So what you get is a kind of a grey plan with all the relevant information popping out. So the next thing is just the manual. I just want to show you a bit about the manual we've got. The template is a living, breathing document, and you should have a manual that explains it. So this is for anybody new to your office, they can understand it. So we have ours, it's 189 pages. This is the content. So just try and keep this up to date, keep it going all the time. I'll just keep going through these pages, but yeah, it's very important to document everything you're doing so that everyone's on the same page and everyone is using it, using your template correctly.
Okay, now we'd like to turn over to Veronica to showcase a project of hers that she used a pre-link system. She's been a long-time client of ours, and we'd like to turn over to her real quick.